In the middle of World War II, a woman walked freely through Japanese checkpoints. She carried messages, maps, and military secrets right in front of enemy soldiers. They never searched her. They never stopped her because they were afraid to touch her. This is the true story of Josefina Guerrero, a Filipina woman with leprosy who turned society's deepest fear into a weapon of resistance. Before the war, Josefina Guerrero lived a quiet, ordinary life in Manila. She was not born into fame. She was not trained as a soldier. She had no ambition to become a hero. But life changed for Josefina long before Japanese troops ever marched into the Philippines. In her early adulthood, she was diagnosed with Hansen's disease, leprosy. At the time, leprosy was not just a medical condition. It was a social death sentence. People feared it. People misunderstood it. People believed it was highly contagious, incurable, and horrifying. Josefina was isolated. Friends kept their distance. Opportunities disappeared. And yet, she survived. She endured the stares, the whispers, the quiet cruelty of being avoided. What no one knew then was that this disease, this stigma, would one day make her invisible, in plain sight. In December 1941, the Japanese Empire invaded the Philippines. Within months, Manila fell. The city was transformed into a place of fear. Food shortages, public executions, forced labor, constant surveillance. Japanese military police, the Kempeitai, ruled through terror. Anyone suspected of resistance could be arrested, tortured, or killed. Underground resistance networks formed quietly. Messengers were arrested. Spies were executed. Information became more valuable than weapons. And it was here, inside this climate of fear, that Josefina Guerrero made a decision. She would not hide. She would fight. Josefina joined the Filipino resistance and later worked with American intelligence. Her job was simple and deadly. Carry information, maps of Japanese troop positions, details of defenses, messages between resistance cells. The problem was not courage. The problem was getting through. Checkpoints were everywhere. Japanese soldiers searched bags. They frisked civilians. But Josefina had something no other spy possessed: leprosy. Japanese soldiers, like much of the world at the time, were terrified of the disease. They believed even touching a person with leprosy could infect them. So when Josefina walked toward checkpoints with visible lesions on her skin, soldiers recoiled. They waved her through. No searches, no questions. What they could not see were the documents hidden in her clothes. Each mission carried enormous risk. If discovered, Josefina would not be imprisoned. She would be executed. Still, she walked through bomb streets, through guarded roads, through the heart of enemy control. She memorized routes. She learned which soldiers were nervous, which checkpoints were strict, which times of day were safest. She became a living courier, and she never ran. She walked slowly, calmly, because fear would draw attention, and attention could kill. At night, she returned home exhausted, physically weakened by illness, emotionally strained by constant danger. Yet, she kept going, not for glory, not for recognition, but because her country needed her. Eventually, the risk caught up with her. Josefina was betrayed. Japanese forces arrested her. She was interrogated, beaten, threatened. But the soldiers never touched her directly. Even in captivity, the fear of her disease protected her. She denied everything. She endured pain. And somehow, she survived. Eventually, due to her condition, Josefina was released. To the Japanese, she was not worth the risk. To the resistance, she was priceless. In 1945, the war ended. Manila lay in ruins. Hundreds of thousands were dead. Josefina had survived. But peace did not bring comfort. Her body was weaker. Her disease progressed. And despite everything she had done, she did not step into the spotlight. There were no parades for her. No medals in public ceremonies. Like many resistance fighters, her service faded into silence. Yet, her intelligence work had saved lives. American forces later confirmed the value of the information she carried. Information that helped plan liberation efforts. After the war, Josefina moved to the United States for medical treatment. At the time, leprosy treatment was advancing. She received care. She stabilized. But the stigma never fully disappeared. Even in peace, she lived carefully, quietly. She was a woman who had walked through war unarmed, armed only, with courage and resilience. And now, she walked through life the same way. Josefina Guerrero's story is not about invincibility. It is about vulnerability. She did not overcome her disease. She lived with it. She did not erase fear. She faced it daily. And yet, she turned society's rejection into resistance. She proved that heroism does not always look like a soldier with a rifle. Sometimes, it looks like a woman walking alone, carrying secrets no one thinks to search for. History often remembers generals. It remembers battles. It remembers victories. But it forgets people like Josefina Guerrero, a woman ignored, avoided, dismissed, who used that dismissal to fight back. Her story reminds us, never underestimate those the world overlooks. Because sometimes, the ones no one wants to touch are the ones who change history. This was a story of Josefina Guerrero, a Filipina, a leper, a spy, and a hero